here, she's going to turn around and kind of shove Kaylee right there. As she was doing that, he pointed at her.
Love it. Very
So,
pleased.
Joe,
All
how
right,
close are
I'm
we
back
to
in.
you sitting down on Friday night?
She's going to turn around.
That was a solid
and he
route.
points to
It's a
her.
good thing that
She
it
points
ended,
back.
but-
She's going to say, fuck you, listen.
Okay, so just remind everybody, that means the bodies cannot be moved. Okay, everybody should know this, but maybe they don't. Until the coroner gets there, nothing can be moved in terms of the bodies. Okay? Nothing can be moved. This is the woman that is the first, this is your coroner that came on site, okay?
Those are really that's what my job is, to look at the bodies.
As a coroner, do you guys do the autopsies and all that?
No, we some do if they're an actual medical examiner, but we have forensic pathologists and we contract with Spokane to do that.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It's a very sad scene for murdered college students.
You're rolling all 4 deaths, both sides?
Yes.
Right here, she says, again, I'm going to just back up just a tad, okay? She gets the phone call at noon. But because of law enforcement doing their thing, she does not go into the house until 5 or 5:30, okay? But she does get the call around noon, 12 or 12:30. And then she waits, and she does not go in until 5 or 5:30, as she states in this interview. Now, watch her movement with this answer, okay?
Her body language?
Her body language. Watch her body language here, all right? This is very, very important. All right, so if you really want to talk about a case and talk about true crime, check this out. She's sitting perfectly, like her hands are cross-folded. She's engaged. She's listening to the question.
She's self-soothing a little bit, but yes, totally engaged.
Yeah, she's just like perfectly, like this is how she's been, I feel, the whole time.
Baselining?
Yeah, she's just, her hands are folded. She's listening. She's answering questions with her hands folded. Her elbows are on her desk. Now watch this.
Well,
She has no problem about to answer the toxicology question, which is 4 to 6 weeks. She has no problem answering this. She keeps her hands folded on the desk. Doesn't make any body movement, in my opinion. Check it out.
toxicology reports, right, they usually take 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. But they might, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the actual manner or cause of death.
And do we know how?
Now right here we go. This is everything.
How long between the time of death and when police found them, approximately?
No, I don't know for sure.
Boom, boom. And that is a complete, oh gosh, I move back, I cross my hands, and that's a guard up.
It's a barrier.
It's a barrier, that's a guard up. But it's when they ask, do you know the time of death? The time of crime will be everything for the prosecution case, which at the time of this interview, we didn't know how circumstantial the state's case would be. But looking back at this interview with what we do know now, Coroner Mabutt seems very uncomfortable with the do you know how much time passed between the time of death and the 911 call being made. Why didn't law enforcement let the coroner go in the home before 5 or 5:30? This has always been a big question mark. How was any parent officially notified by a law enforcement officer before 5:30 p.m.? If law enforcement went by proper protocol, how did law enforcement know who these dead bodies were if they could not touch any items inside the house to obtain identification information? Did anyone identify the bodies to police officers at the scene because they physically saw them during the 911 call. Again, these are all questions surrounding when people could probably be notified via law enforcement due to protocol. How can any families be officially notified before the coroner is present and checks the bodies to quote unquote legally declare some person dead? And then once that happens, you then can make efforts to get wallets, get IDs, purses. The police have told us from day one that this crime happened between 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., only to come to find out that they would be labeling this crime that happened between 4 and 4:25 a.m., when the probable cause for the arrest of Brian Kohlberger would be released. On November 20th, 2022, there would actually be a press conference as well as a press release. This is when I realized that something wasn't adding up and that the police were, in fact, contradicting themselves. In this November 20th, 2022 press release, detectives are looking for context to the events and people involved in these murders. Well, the last time I checked, people is plural. So I was thinking that they're looking for multiple persons in the murders. Could this just be a weird way that they wrote their press release? Sure, absolutely. But other things were starting to clash and contradict themselves. Check this out. This is the November 20th, 2022 presser at different points that I noted where and why I decided to actually go and investigate this case. It was everything happened for me after this November 20th, 2022 press conference.
Can do to help is to stop with any kind of rumors and just seek official information that comes out of the Moscow Police Department. Anything that we have that we can share from a law enforcement perspective, we will be sharing just as soon as we can, because that's how we can.
So the number one thing I took away from the presser was that they wanted to have their narrative, get the information from us. Otherwise, it's not valid.
These things take time. It takes time to work through. You heard the stats of all the tips and everything, the interviews and everything that's been done. This takes time for our investigators to work through. So please be patient as we work through this investigation. We owe this to these young kids, to these young adults. We owe it to them. And we are absolutely dedicated to make sure that that happens. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce the University of Idaho President Scott Green.
I'm on board with this time exactly. For them to be where they're at, they don't have some, because this is not a crime of passion. This is going to take time.
About 8 to 10 questions. We ask that only one question is asked per person, please. And I would also like to just see if there's an Argonaut reporter here. I think it's only fair to give our student reporter the first shot.
Speak up if you're in the room, if you're from the Argonaut.
There.
Are you from the Argonaut?
Are you from the University of Idaho Argonaut? Is anybody from the University of Idaho Argonaut? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ted Williams, Fox.
No local press? What? Or do they just mean nobody from the University of Idaho was there? Because Ted Williams from Fox asks the first question.
You all have said that these killings are targeted. Can you share with us why you believe they are targeted killings? And do you know who, if any, of the victims were the actual targets of the killings?
As we stated earlier in the previous press release, or press conference, we believe they're targeted because we take a totality of all the circumstances that we're looking at. Do we know any one person that it was targeted? We're not able to say at this point in time due to our investigation, but we still believe that. But we, like I said, we take a totality of everything that we're looking at.
Chief Glenn Mosley, Idaho Public Radio here in Moscow. On the resources, do you have the resources that you need?
We do have the resources. It is an incredible outpouring of what we receive from the Idaho State Police and from the Federal Bureau of Investigations and Latah County. Anything we ask for is given. So at any time, if we need additional, all I have to do is call the colonel, and he will provide that. He's already guaranteed me that, and I know the FBI has said the same thing.
Hi, Emma Epperly from the Spokesman.
Number 4, did Moscow ask for any help? I'm just curious. I get that it was offered, but that doesn't mean that it was used, because Moscow made it very clear that this was their investigation. So I'm just curious if they ever asked and what they asked for. That language, Moscow Police Department believed that the roommates slept on the first floor and that they did not hear or witness anything. That's what they were writing in their pressers, but they were using the word believed.
I know you've said you're not going to release who the 911 caller was, but was the killer the 911 caller?
I will tell you no.
How do you know that? And that was a very direct answer, very different from all the others.
I will tell you no.
Can you clarify, you said it was made from the roommate's phone, but you didn't say the roommate made the call. So did the roommate make the call on the roommate's phone, or can you clarify if it was another individual who made the call?
Actually, if we could just go to this one first. And
Well, it's a follow-up, that's why I wanted to.
so what I'll say to that is it was made from the roommate's call, or phone, excuse me.
He wanted nothing to do with that question. The hush surrounding what was on the 911 call naturally tells you the value in it and that you want to keep that hush because of the integrity of the case. But I can't see why the hush surrounding
And we're not going to divulge
the secret
who
on
made that
who
call,
made the phone call.
It's part of our investigation still, and when we get ready to release that, we will.
Everyone thinks it was a kid.
Hi,
that
Christina
called.
Corbin with Fox News.
I don't.
The male subject whom the women called, has he been ruled out as a suspect or person of interest?
The person that I think they called was
Everything
older.
that we have taken from
And it
those
is
calls,
going to raise questions of
we
us.
have
Why would they call
followed up
you?
on, we've cleared,
How do they even know
and
you?
we,
That type of thing.
believe that there's no connection there.
Gotti Schwartz, NBC News. Just following up on the 911 call, you said that you don't believe that's the killer. Can you conclusively rule out the person that called 911 from inside the home as a suspect in this case?
Can you go ahead and just ask that one more time, please?
The person that was inside the home that called 911 that was not one of the roommates. Can you conclusively rule that person out as a suspect at this point?
I don't think I said that it wasn't one of the roommates. I said that it was used with the roommate's phone.
I believe somebody asked if that was the killer, and you said no.
No, that's correct.
Was there someone there other than the two roommates when police responded to the home?
So will you clarify that for me?
You're not confirming a roommate called 911, but they used the roommate's phone. So was there someone else at the home other than those two roommates?
There was other friends that had arrived at the location.
He makes no mention about a phone call, though. Who made the phone call?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure at this time, to be quite honest.
Do you guys have any idea if the killer's still within the community?
And that answered so many questions of mine by him saying that he did not know how many people were there, which was my biggest question, which is if you're going to be looking at surveillance cameras that are right around the area that could possibly see that house, like Ring cameras, your neighbor's cameras across the street, cars coming and going, people getting out of cars. For you not to know this on November 20th and the murders were on November 13th, that tells me that you don't have the capability to do that. Or is he lying? It also tells me the capability of the roommates the roommates not knowing who's there. You don't know who is there. So for you not to know this on November 20th, this is really important in the investigation, because what are you doing? What are you working on? Why wouldn't you, somebody could have been there because they would have been all bloody, and people weren't, the people that were there weren't all bloody. Well, was there blood on their bottom of their shoes? Shoes was, this was a huge hang up for me. And this is why, like I said, this presser made me want to cover this case. Nothing made sense. This happened on November 13th in the early morning hours. 911 was not called until 11:58. Okay? To simply say that because kids were there and they were not bloody, they couldn't have done this. Well, there was 8 to 7 to 9. How many hours? 10, you have no idea how much time had passed. Somebody could have went home, came back, all of these things. But for the chief of police not to know how many people were in that home, who was there, who came, who left, that means that your roommates aren't cooperating, or they don't know, or they aren't saying. But it also tells me, going back to the capabilities of whatever footages you're looking at around that house, you should be able to see the people that were coming there and gathering right outside. You should be able to go through all the surveillance of the neighbors' footage. What was truly going on in these early stages of this investigation? Was it about, truly investigating where the evidence led you? Did you not ask these roommates these questions on who was there? Did you not think it was important? But to simply say, you don't, at this time, I don't even really know who was there. To answer it that way, that was very, I don't think that he was, acting. Like I said, if anybody should get an award for acting, it hands down goes to Moscow Police Department, without a doubt. Because at the end of the day, Moscow Police Department has their official 3 officers that responded to the initial call. They all have body cams. So what did their body cams pick up? Who was there? Their body cams are supposed to be able to see stuff. Who was there? Did you guys review these body cams to then see who these people are, to show these to people, to identify okay, hey, this person, we didn't get to talk to them. You should have taken these people down to the station for them to give their, eyewitness reports of when they arrived, what they do the night before, things like that, what's been going on. But I think that to say that you don't know this, it's very interesting. Very interesting. So you have 2 surviving roommates. Went ahead and started looking into them because it was, why were these 2 spared? If this was an isolated, targeted attack, anybody that would be scoping out this house would know that this house was occupied by 5 girls, 3 of which were brutally stabbed, and then 2, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen, both sophomores at the University of Idaho, both in Greek life, and both in the same sorority. And so it was all about who were these 2 girls and why were they spared. The difference of approach that I had with these 2, and I guess you could say this case in general, is that I wanted to know not why those kids were brutally stabbed, but why these 2 were not. Because I think that would actually be a quicker path to determine why the other ones may have been stabbed and killed. So I went ahead and I took all the social media stuff that we had been pulling. And here we had a house, 1122 King, in an area that would come across as being dark and not a lot of lighting, but actually is surrounded by a huge apartment complex. You're right across from the university. You're right across from another apartment complex, and then you have a couple houses that are kind of right on top of you. And yeah, can the backyard seem like it was, a way to maybe park in the back and then not be seen to walk through the back area and then into the house with a slider? Sure. But at the end of the day, there's two people in here. They were spared. Who are these two? When did they move into the house? How do they all know each other? So that's where, after this press conference, that's where I went with it. I wanted to know everything about these two survivors. So first we have Bethany. Bethany's from Reno, Nevada. Bethany was a soccer player. Her parents, dentists. Bethany comes from Reno, joins the same sorority that Maddie was in. And so her freshman year would have been from 2021 to 2022, based off of pictures that Maddie has. Bethany had been at the house prior to moving in on numerous occasions. There's pictures of her seen there prior to her moving in. And then you have Dylan. Dylan from Boise, Idaho. Graduated in 2021. Her freshman year, 2021 to 2022. Same thing. She rushed the same sorority that Maddie was in, also Xana was in. And she moves into 1122 King her sophomore year. Same with Bethany. They're both moving into this house sophomore year. Nobody was talking about the fact that these girls were not living in their sorority houses. Normally, your sophomore year, you're living in your sorority house. These two girls opt out to not live in the sorority house their sophomore year, and instead are living with one junior and two seniors at the 1122 King Road residence. I wanted to know when this was determined. When did they all agree to this? We see the infamous picture that's seen out in the media August 16th when they post that meet the roomies, and it's with all the girls, and it's on August 16th. That gets posted on social media by, I believe it was Kaylee, and it was Kaylee and or Maddie. And so when this was posted, it was like, okay, everybody's here. Here's this picture. They started school on August 22nd. And this was a picture from August 16th, meet the roomies. Here's everybody at, Okay, well, just because that picture was taken then, when did they actually move in? Well, kids nowadays, they're using applications to pay people, Cash App. There's a application out there called Venmo. Venmo is public. You can look it up. And if you have your transactions made public, everybody can see who you're giving money to and what the description is that you're putting your money towards. People can be funny with it. But at the end of the day, if you're using this application and you're making it public, anybody can see it. So we went and grabbed all the Venmos from all of these girls, as well as Ethan. So I start scrolling through these screen recording screenshots, and I come across who's paying who for Wi-Fi, who's paying who for bills in the house, and then rent. And here it was, Dylan Mortensen paid Alice Simpson a direct deposit, and also says house payment. So what I realized is that Dylan Mortensen had paid a former tenant her direct deposit and also paid her the first month's rent, as it was like she was not on the lease yet, and that person was still paying that. Here are just some more going through, Maddie's paying Dylan for paper towels in September. Maddie paid or charged Dylan for lights, for the outside lights. They're just going back and forth with, again, this Venmo and requesting and paying people, and it's all public. when you see the little world sign. And I came across, Maddie was planning on going to Luke Holmes in May of 2023. But as I was doing this, I went through and I saw that Dylan Mortensen had posted at 3:33 a.m. on November 13th, the night of the homicides. She's on her device or a device, and she is uploading pictures to put on her social media at 3:33 a.m. November 13th, the night of the homicides. And I noticed this is in the time frame of the murders. Dylan's social media actually had numerous pictures or postings that were just questionable. It just made you kind of like, wait, what? And so this was one of them, this post of these masks, and it was obviously taken down. But I looked like deeper, and this looks like it's in a Jeep with the roof being the whitish color. It's like T-tops that can pop off of a Jeep. And it looks to me like it's red. And I'm questioning if this is not in Ethan's Jeep. So I went back and listened to the press conference one more time because I really, really, really thought I found something.
2 more questions.
Do you still believe this attack was done by one perpetrator? And if so, how does one individual kill 4 people at night and not wake up the other 2 roommates?
Our investigation will continue to look at all avenues of that investigation. I cannot disclose any of that information. I don't even know that information at this point in time, and that's why we're continuing to investigate.
You don't know how this happened without the other 2 roommates hearing it or waking up or noticing?
We do not. One more question. I cannot disclose any of that information. I don't even know that information at this point in time, and that's why we're continuing to investigate.
You don't know how this happened without the other 2 roommates hearing it or waking up or noticing?
We do not.
At 3:33 a.m., Dylan Mortensen was using her device and not sleeping. What else was Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk doing between 3 and 4 a.m.? What else was law enforcement not telling us? The deep dive on Beth and Dylan, as well as these friends who were called, continues. What is good? What is good? Welcome to the transparency. How we doing? Again, thank you guys for being in chat. This is the chat after the episode. I do have a preview episode for what is coming up. I'll throw that up before I leave you guys. Again, hello to all the moderators, all the subs, subscribers. How you guys doing? The after chat. Yes, the after chat. Yes, there's going to be a lot more that I show, like, as I keep deep diving as far as like the Venmos and stuff like that. So somebody said, talk about the zips. Yep, there's a fake fight. Got it all. Those are coming up in upcoming episodes. So basically, taking it step by step. But the biggest thing was listening to what the police were saying, and then looking at like the digital evidence that's like out there if you go and get it. At the time, when I was gathering all of this, myself, Bella, the mods, we were gathering everything. There, it was available. So you want to get stuff before it's not available, and then you started seeing people started deleting things and stuff like that. Well, there's certain things that you can't delete with Venmo. So, but there's also a lot of things that if you didn't have it back then, you wouldn't be able to have it now unless you were law enforcement and did like, a dump to try to get that stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for the super chats that were happening throughout it. I left the clear screen for the video for the beginning part. So, yes. Lana, I assume you didn't know, but we have people in different time zones. Yes. Yes. Yes, I know that we have people in different time zones. So, but what is up, Suthiusi? Welcome. The other thing I wanted to show again was, like I said, that'll come up later in different ones, but right about here or at the end where he talks about, and here it was, Dylan Mortensen paid Alice Simpson. Roof being the whitish color.
Investigation will continue to look at all avenues of that investigation. I cannot disclose any of that information. I don't even know that information at this point in time, and that's.
I don't even know that information at this time. It was really hard to hear that because it's like, how wait, what? Do you think he's being serious? Do you think he's being, not serious? He doesn't even know. It's the 20th. It's like 7 days later. Roof being the whitish color. It's like T-tops that can pop off of a Jeep. And it looks to me like it's red. And I'm questioning if this is not in Ethan's Jeep. So I went back and listened to the press conference one more time because I really, really, really thought I found something.
2 more questions.
Do you still believe this attack was done by one perpetrator? And if so, how does one individual kill 4 people at night and not wake up the other 2 roommates?
Our investigation will continue to look at all avenues of that investigation.
And then that answer. I mean, I'm just surprised that he just didn't say, like, we can't talk about that because it's part of the investigation. I had to like reflex, like, wait, what did he just say? All avenues within an investigation look into an investigation I'm like, wait, what?
I cannot disclose any of that information. I don't even know that information at this point.
I don't even know that information. So he doesn't know how the 2 people slept through. Well, but I thought that it was known that they were sleeping on the first level, and that's why they didn't hear it. That's why they slept through it, because they didn't hear it.
And that's why we're continuing to investigate.
You don't know how this happened without the other 2 roommates hearing it or waking up or noticing?
We do not. One more.
We do not. Okay, so then I started thinking to myself about something. Okay, he just answered that question right there at the end. 1 word, right? We do not. 2 words, Again, check it one more time.
Investigation will continue to look at all avenues of that investigation. I cannot disclose any of that information. I don't even know that information at this point in time, and that's why we're continuing to investigate.
You don't know how this happened without the other 2 roommates hearing it or waking up or noticing?
We do not.
So simple, right? We do not. We don't know. We don't know how they didn't hear this. But now you're going to fast forward because this was November 20th, 2022. So we have to ask ourselves, do we think that they truly don't know? Okay. And that there's multiple versions of what the witnesses are saying. And then they find out the version that's in the PCA after this presser. Okay. But now let's check out one other thing. What about this when he says, well, one word answer? And then this happens. Much as I love Ted Williams, right here. This is where everything goes haywire in this presser.
From the roommate's phone, but you didn't say the roommate made the call. So did the roommate make the call on the roommate's phone, or can you clarify if it was another individual who made the call?
Actually, if we could just go to this one first. And
Well, it's a follow-up. That's why I wanted to.
so what I'll say to that is it was made from the roommate's call, or phone, excuse me.
Okay, so was it like it was made from the roommate's call, the call was what? He wanted nothing to do with that question. The hush surrounding what was on the 911 call naturally tells you the value in it and that you want to keep that hush because of the integrity of the case. But I can't see why the hush surrounding
And we're not going to divulge
the secret
who
on
made that
who
call,
made the phone call.
be,
Okay, so I want to talk about this because the more and more that, you know, I'm doing things, the who. Like, okay, I get that you want to keep whatever could possibly be on the 911 call because let's say that somebody walked around the house and was describing the scene or something like that. Absolutely, you don't want information that's going to jeopardize the integrity of your case, 100%. But why would, like, who cares who called, right? Like, they called somebody or somebody was there that wasn't the surviving roommates. Like, okay, like, what's the problem with somebody calling 911? What's the problem with who is the person that called 911? What would it start? And if it was just a friend of theirs, it's like, you know, they called somebody over, you know, or they heard some screaming and they came over. Okay. Why would it be such a big deal who this person is, right? So then I started thinking more about this person that I believe has been protected. Okay, it's not one of the roommates because obviously, like, why not just say that? One of the roommates, what, made the call? Why can't you just say one of the roommates made the call? Why is all of this even the way that it is? How many 911 calls are there? Maybe there's multiple 911 calls. So I kept going and going and going. And then I came to this conclusion that, you know, what if this person is older and they called somebody that they knew and that they trusted that was like an older person from the community, that if that name was to get out, it would be like, why the hell is this person calling you of all people? Why are you getting a phone call from this person? You know, for a roommate that's 20 years old to call a fellow 21-year-old, okay, like you're in pure panic. I don't know. That would be like, we would understand that. But what if this person called, let's say, like a 40 or a 50-year-old to come there, or called them first before they called 911, and it's a prominent figure in the community, and then everyone's gonna be like, why would this person call them? How do you even know them? So if it was just as easy as, like, you know, people throwing it out there that it was Hunter, okay, or if it was, you know, Sue, Bob, Joe, like, why all this? Why all of this to the point that you have a police chief on a podium in front of national television and you don't think that this is going to come up, this is going to be asked, because it is and it was, and you would just, to see all of this, to not be able to answer that question. And so if you really truly think about it, hey, I can't have my name out there. I can't have my name out there. People are going to wonder why was I called? Why was I there? How do I even know these people? How do I know these people? Think about that. You know, I'm not a neighbor. Maybe somebody that was there ends up kind of slipping out the backside. I got to go. I can't be here. Like, I got to go before law enforcement gets here, but I was on the phone call originally. But when you have all this craziness going on, you don't need to protect a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old. Who would you protect? Who cares if Bob Smith's name's out? Like, who cares? Yeah, I did the right thing. When I got there, I called 911. Absolutely. But then they're going to start asking themselves this question, which would be like, well, why were you called in the first place? Why did Dylan or Bethany call you in the first place? But there's something interesting in all of that. So, but to go through the fact that you're, fumbling this around, it's, it would lead one to believe that it's just not, it would be a simple answer. Who cares if it was even Ethan's brother or sister? Who cares? Who cares who the 911 caller is? How about that? Who cares, right? At least somebody called 911, right? I mean, you got to kind of scratch your head and wonder, why is this a big secret? I can understand you're not going to release the 911 call because of whatever is on it. Fine. Don't jeopardize the case. Absolutely. But you would think that who made the phone call shouldn't be a big deal, but you're making it be a big deal. So now it is a big deal.
It's part of our investigation still, and when we get ready to release that, we will.
Everyone thinks it was a kid. It's part of our investigation still. The person who called 911 is part of the investigation still. But I thought that you guys have to understand, then when you have to go to these press releases and you have to read these press releases, and when you read these press releases on the same days and the next day, we don't believe that the person that called 911 nor the roommates are involved.
Hi,
that
Christina
called.
Corbin with Fox News.
I don't.
The male subject whom the women called, has he been ruled out as a suspect or person of interest?
The person that I think they called was
Everything
older.
that we have taken from
And
from
it
those
is
calls,
going to raise questions of
we
us.
have
Why would they call
followed up
you?
on, we've cleared,
How do they even know
and
you?
we,
That type of thing.
believe that there's no connection there.
Why couldn't he just answer the question? Yeah, we believe that there's no connection there. Why didn't he say it as sternly as, so the person that called 911 isn't the killer? No.
Gotti Schwartz, NBC News. Just following up on the 911 call, you said that you don't believe that's the killer. Can you conclusively rule out the person that called 911 from inside the home as a suspect in this case?
Can you go ahead and just ask that one more time, please?
The person that was inside the home that called 911 that was not one of the roommates, can you conclusively rule that person out as a suspect at this point?
I don't think I said that it wasn't one of the roommates. I said that it was used with the roommate's phone.
I believe
You guys make it make sense. So he wanted to listen to that question very clearly because he wanted to. He's like, I don't recall that I ever said that it wasn't the roommate that didn't call. I just said it was with a roommate's phone. Well, then why wouldn't you just say a roommate called with her cell phone? Why are we talking about cell phones? Okay. Why are we talking about who could have been using somebody else's phone? What? But when you actually like go back and you look at all of this stuff, it matters because this is November 20th. This is November 20th. And to me, this is a fumbling mess. Okay. But yet by November 29th, they have Brian Kohlberger's name. But yet they have no idea on November 20th who was even at the house. Oh.
Somebody asked if that was the killer, and you said no.
No, that's correct.
Was there someone there other than the two roommates when police responded to the home?
So will you clarify that for me?
You're not confirming a roommate called 911, but he used the roommate's phone. So was there someone else at the home other than those two roommates?
There was other friends that had arrived at the location.
He makes no mention about a phone call, though. Who made the phone call?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure at this time, to be quite honest.
Do you guys have any idea if the killer's still within the community?
I mean, just wild stuff. And that answered so many questions. There was just so much going on back when you would be watching it, you know. So, but when you take all the totality of all of this, it's just really frustrating. It's really frustrating because it's about, it should just, I mean, you would think that none of that would be, should be relevant, but it so is in this case. It is relevant because it is relevant that two people are surviving and not even merely attempted to be attacked. It is relevant that so many hours went by before 911 was ever called. And it becomes so relevant when they make a time frame that they're labeling this now from 4 to 4:25. And they needed to keep everything hush hush and not say anything because I believe they needed to wait to get a lot of things in place. That's why they're not going to say anything, because if it's going to go the route of you're covering for somebody, you can't say you can't come out and say something and then say something and then say this and say, like, what the heck? But it's just wild. But yeah, welcome to the Transparency. Episode 3 just dropped. Go ahead and watch it back from the beginning. Looking over here at chat. Thank you for all the moderators for being here. And that's a great question there, Stacy. That's one of the things that is not answered at any point in time, which is why don't they tell us where DM was all evening? Absolutely. Something else that's going to come up in these, later episodes, and not too much later, is the whole talk about, I think it's in episode 5 or 6, where Kaylee going to Austin to work because the girl Jordan that was interviewed only happened once and it came out right away. And she said that she was going with Kaylee to Austin. And I had to scratch my head at that because it's like, well, then why is Kaylee on the internet posting in October looking for a roommate on some, Facebook marketplace type, site? And that's like just the most unsafe thing to ever do. If you're going there with somebody that and you're going from like the same town and you're only going to be there for 3 or 4 months, why wouldn't you just live with this Jordan person? Why would you be on the internet posting that you're looking for a roommate. So again, that's going to be coming up. There's going to be a lot more discussion of all the Venmo transactions to break more stuff down in terms of stuff that was just posted there. Hardcore true crime asked on the Venmo payments, is one roommate getting paid more often than the others? So yeah, it's going to come up. But if you actually go back and you listen to all the different things that they were saying in these press conferences in the beginning, and you compare it to like what you know now, and you go back and you examine the language that they were using and when they were using certain things, that's why I point out in here when they want to say we believe. Well, every time that they've ever said that, when they've written something in the press releases, we believe that, what they say, we believe that the roommates were downstairs sleeping on the first floor and they didn't hear anything. Well, we come to find out, we know that's not true. So the whole we believe, and we believe, XYZ. So that's why I'll always point that out when I'm doing this stuff, because it's like a way to, we believe. Well, what made you believe that? Something had to make you believe that. Was it what somebody told you? Did someone tell you that? So that means that they had to tell you something different for you to believe something else, or did evidence come forward that trumped their words? So Joseph says Moscow police worked with FBI and Idaho State Police. Yep. There was 22 officers from the FBI that were actually in Moscow, and there was 20 that were actually out in different states. There was also 25 total of ISP. That's a lot. Maybe there was an investigation within an investigation. I mean, 4 people stabbed, not a crime of passion. Do they think it's a serial killer? That all comes up. Where is all this stuff coming from? Kathy T wants to know. Where is all this stuff coming from? Informants, drug sugar daddies? What the WTF? Let's see. Yeah, we wouldn't have seen them because no one's going to see the victims coming out. Stormy Waters, mainstream media wasn't on this case on day one. You'd have to, if you really want to write into them and ask them when they actually had a camera crew there. But you would think that the neighbors' cameras would have caught stuff. The same neighbors' cameras that were catching this white Elantra. I think that it's going to be very telling to see what these cameras have, that morning of the homicide, as well as later on then and through the day. You want to see who's coming and going. So, why so many secrets? Well, no, since they say the police can lie, can't press conference statements serve as evidence. Yeah, you can ask those questions, definitely. You know, why did you say XYZ? You know, what? Absolutely. I think it's going to come down to a lot of the dates that people said that they were doing things. So, but yeah, you can definitely lie. I think that the issue is you didn't have to lie. There's times that I believe that the Moscow Police Department did not have to lie, and they chose to, versus just simply not answering that question, saying that it's part of the investigation. So, but I think if you really, really think about everything surrounding that 911 call, and there could be multiple people on it, be on the call. It just, I get the contents that would be on it, not wanting to be out there. But everything surrounding the 911 call is important. And who called and why they called and how are they summoned there? How do they know each other? Things like that. Yep, the 911 call will come out and show, absolutely. The body cams of all of that stuff will be there. That's why that was my hang up with all of that. When you're going to say that you don't know that, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? All your police officers are decked in body cam. You got 3 responding officers that responded, and you don't know who was there. You don't know who was there when 911 was called. So that means that like I said in this episode, the witnesses are not, what, are they not cooperating? They're not telling you anything? Do they not know? Can they not remember? And then do these people not stick around because they should be taken down to the station to be given, statements? But yeah, to say that we don't even know who was there. We don't even know that yet on November 20th to say that. And I'm just thinking, well, November 25th, you guys are marching your happy asses over to WSU to say, hey, and to other law enforcement agencies to say, hey, be on the lookout for a white Elantra. You know that within 5 days, but within 7 days, you don't know who was in. And then people can say, he's just lying. They know, but they're just not saying. Well, then why not just say, yeah, we know who was there and we're not releasing that information at this time? Why get up here and look like a complete idiot? I don't understand that. Why would you pay someone for paper towels? You guys, paper towels are high in demand. I happen to catch that. Megan L. had to throw that up there. Yes, great. Why did 3 officers respond to a report of an unconscious person? Right, Sleuthy Goosey? All day, every day. All day, every day. And then how about this? Why are all these officers that responded? Well, do you think that they are going to have reports? Did they have to fill out a report? Did each of them fill out a report of what they witnessed and saw and who they saw? Because body cam does not, sometimes can miss stuff. Did you see somebody when you got there running off, hey, I can't be here. Like, I'm not, dude, I don't want, because they know that they're going to be on body cam. They know that they're going to be talking to the police. They know that they're going to ask for their names and how do you know this person? What's up? And yeah, why are 3 people responding? And the one saying that they were bored or something that morning. There's nothing going on. It was a dead morning. Eggs are in really high demand right now, I guess. Are eggs really $9? Um, Atlanta, wouldn't the accident in front of BK apartment the night of the 12th factor into his timeline? Roads were blocked off. Yeah, I tried to actually get my hands on that stuff. They weren't releasing it. We did a request. We said we might get those in June. June or July, May. Do you grocery shop? Yeah, I do. Annie says, my eggs were $8 today. I like to go grocery shopping on Sunday mornings. The reason I brought up the whole picture with that possibly being the Jeep or whatnot is because I believe Ethan's 2 vehicles or their family's 2 vehicles are still in evidence right now. So bag of chips was set at $10. What kind of chips you eating? I would agree with that. Sleuthy Goosey says, not if you have your own chickens. Sleuthy, do you have your own chickens? The affidavit is a very poorly written document. It is not up to the quality that a legal document should be. Absolutely. I would like to know the address that they gave when they gave, the 911 call comes out, what address they gave, and if the address is why 3 people responded. 3 people seem to respond to the noise complaints. So, but I don't know if maybe that caught some attention, the 1122, Queen Road, King Road. So I'm really curious to hear how the 911 caller called in the address. So love you back. Love you back. Yeah, I think the defense is going to tear apart the circumstantial of the case. Absolutely. Atlanta, wouldn't it be crazy if the suspect and the witness are one and the same? You know what? Nothing would surprise me with this case. Oh, Boo Sheet, nice name. Paper towels is a code word for cocaine. Is that just your do you and your friends use paper towels as a code word? Is that just a thing? Well, the call originated from inside. So again, that's if you're going to go off what the police said, but they said that the call originated from inside the home. The call originated from inside the residence, and it was with one of the roommates' phones. So now, if you actually really want to be technical, with one of the roommates' phones, that could actually be one of the deceased as well. So if you really want to be technical about it. So again, it's it's if you're going to believe what the police are saying, and the police said that the call originated from inside the home from one of, did they say surviving roommates' phones, or did they just say roommate's phone? Well, Sleeper Agent said, yes, it is. Google it. Well, then, see, there you go. There you go. You're going to see where my investigation goes right to. I mean, you guys saw my whiteboard. You got WSU, you got drugs, you got sex, you got police, all within, that's wrapped around my 1122 King Road. Is the Super Bowl started yet? So again, I want to give a shout out to this third episode. Featured a couple people and names. Mabutt was on there. You know, she should get some street credit too there. But right here at the end. Julie says P. Yeah, P's on there too. So is T. What's P and T? Is P short for cocaine too? So paper towels, code for cake. Lana, how much was the paper? It doesn't show the amount. It doesn't show the amount. Julie says accident. I thought me and Julie were speaking in code there for a second. So screenshots. And I come across, let me take that down. So yeah, I went through all the ones that who's paying who for Wi-Fi, who's paying who for. There you go. July 28th, Zip. That zip tie game they play. I don't know. Bills in the house and then rent. And here it was, Dylan Mortensen paid. So again, this all comes out. Oh God, Sleuthy. I'm gonna end on this one so you guys can get to your parties. I gotta go to mine. Oh God, here it is. Sleuthy says, I cannot wait to see Mabette cross-examined. You reckon she'll burst into dust? Interview so uncomfortable, like she's gonna have a stroke. I can't even imagine what Court will be like. Oh God, that made me laugh. Oh, thank you. My butt. How about the way that Jonathan Lee Ridges says her name? Oh God. Yes, I know. Ashlyn took a complete transformation. I'm well aware. I would definitely want her on my team if we were going to go into a bar and brawl. You know what's sad though, guys, is like I feel bad because if my butt was like threatened any type of way, like you will not say this, you're gonna say this, you're not gonna say that. This is what you can say. I mean, it's just like wow. But she wanted no part of that whole like time between the 911 call and when this crime occurred. So oh gosh. Zip is slang for an ounce of weed. Jeez. Lana, who might take it in the Super Bowl? I mean, I think the Eagles D is just really, really tough. So the Eagles D is legit. What's up? I'm more so betting on the props. You guys want to hear what I'm betting on and the prop bets? That's how I was going to end this episode, was the prop bets. But yeah, if I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a really good game. But the Eagles D is something fierce. But I think whoever has less turnovers wins. So, but I got Patrick throwing. I picked a what was it? I picked a red Gatorade to be dumped. I picked heads on the coin toss. So I picked heads on the coin toss. I picked red Gatorade to be dumped. It's a Kelsey. Yeah, it's going to be a win-win for the mom. One of them will win. One of them will win. I went over and under on the national anthem. It's over under 105 seconds. And I said over. Oh my God, I had an Eagles starter jacket in the 1990s. Really real for the win right there. First field goal, that's going to go to Kansas City. Where can we bet? You guys don't know prop bets? I should have done my own squares on here. Starter jackets for everything. Here, I'll show you guys where you guys could do it on FanDuel, but do you guys live by a casino? Our casino takes bets now. Let's see. Just so you guys can see what the Super Bowl prop bets are. Here's your prop bet mega guide. I'll share it for you. Okay, Patrick Mahomes over or under 18.5 yards rushing. I said over. That one was not even fun. I bet the Travis one. I said under. Will Travis have over or under 79.5 yards receiving? I said under. That D's gonna keep him in check. Oh, first touchdown scorer. Here you go. We're betting eggs, guys. We're betting eggs. I would hold the bet over the total. Absolutely, because probably everybody's going under. You want to go opposite. How about the juggling of Enon? Is it Enon? There we go. Super Bowl MVP. I took Patrick Mahomes. I did not do that one. Where's the good stuff? You guys gotta go. These are horrible prop bets. Those aren't good prop bets. I need like the fun ones where you bet on like over and under on all state commercials and stuff like that. I have, do you guys know that Rihanna is doing 33 songs in 13-minute set? Here you go. Rihanna halftime show propettes. Here we go. Let's see what you guys think. All right. Can you see that? Okay, here, I'll zoom in. Guest performer. I said yes. Her first song and her last song. So if you guys are going to a Super Bowl party like I am, this is what I printed off. Which song from Good Girl Gone Bad will be played? Umbrella, Don't Stop the Music, both, neither. I said both. Which song from Anti will be played? Work, Needed Me, both, neither. She's doing 33 songs. I said neither, though. Will she shout out any of the following? Her son. I said her son. I don't think she's going to do any, but I said her son because I would shout out my son. What's the other one? Will she announce an album and or tour? I don't think she's going to talk. Do these people really think that Rihanna's going to get up there and just gab it up? Will she perform any unreleased music? Ugh. Will she wear a one-piece outfit? Hairstyle, up or down? I said down. And then I added to this for my list. I said I'm praying that she has a guest performer, and I really want it to be Eminem. But I think that if I was like running the show, I would have, I'd get all these males to get on this whole campaign of you're supposed to be supporting a Black female, and what better way to do it than to not be a headliner? And so to have big names show up that aren't the headliner, and for people to do that. And so I think out of respect for Rihanna and her career, that I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of happens, and that's why there's no talk about it. So I would love to see Jay-Z pop up on there, Justin, all of them show up, show out. Thank you. I'll take that medal. You said, oh, Drake. You think Drake's gonna go there? So I'm not doing anything for the Super Bowl, and you are getting me all pumped up. Now I need to, put yourself together, get to a sports bar, shake it down. But run this back tomorrow night. Remember tomorrow, so I do my episodes on this is Sunday, Monday. So tomorrow night I'll be live to release episode 4. And after that, we're going to head over to Bella's channel, where she is going to be reading the 3rd series of Bloom's. He's been writing about it's the airmail. He's been writing about the case, and the third, his third part, his writing part, released this past weekend. So we're going to read that. So you get a double feature. So I have to learn how to bring over the crowd from here so we can just transfer right over. I'm going to learn that before tomorrow. So I'll figure out how to do that. Oh my God, I missed everything upstate. Yeah, girl. Got those notifications on. Woo, woo. No, but much love to all of you guys out there. You guys are awesome. Much love to all of exactly all the creators that are sleuthing it up and trying to dig up truth and get things sorted. But this if true justice is going to happen, Um, I think that that's only possible. Um, I would love to see if there's any loopholes where the FBI could step in and take over some stuff, or maybe they can bring some stuff to light that would otherwise be covered. So maybe that's why they're there. Maybe everybody believes that they're there for just to help, but maybe they're there to make sure that, hey, we already had our eyes on what was going on over here, and none of this is sniffing right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know. But for the victims and their families and their friends, that community, I mean, I wouldn't. It'd be awful. Can you imagine going to college and that happening? I mean, how, like, that would shake you to the core. I can't even. Ugh. And these parents, like, so. Lana, you make me laugh. How you ask clarifying questions. Well, I'd rather make you laugh than cry. So, fact on Super Bowl: the flyover is an all-woman crew. Oh, that'd be sweet. Number 1, Purdue, just getting taken down by the Jayhawks. Oh, what's up, Miss Nine? Well, I'm gonna be praying for everybody. I can't stop crying. Chili Bean, are you okay? I've been working on some stuff though, so I think that if you actually want to look at something with an open mind and really how all these pieces truly do fit, because what we've been told, I mean, obviously, like, they've proven that the stuff that they've told us is not the truth. So what else is, it can't just be that one thing. Think about it. We're just going to keep this one thing. No, we know the 911 call is, all woo, gets them in a tiz whiz, but I hope so. I hope that Steve isn't going to fold till the truth comes out. But sometimes, like, they try to tell you that, hey, you don't want this to come out because it's going to be X, Y, Z. I mean, I do think this is really deep. But if you don't want it truly to happen to somebody else, then, or their kid and stuff like that, that's how, because nobody believes that this could be possible, and people don't believe it because it gets buried. So yeah, just, I'm sorry, but put the truth out there. Otherwise, it's just going to continue. What is up there, Alice? Again, thank you to the mods for being here. You guys rock. What is up? Open mind is needed. What's up, Mandy Joe? Here, Lana, for zip paper towels. I'm going to be wondering all day now. Zip? Because, I mean, I've heard some slang for, cocaine, but that's a new one for me. And then I'm going to have to go get some chickens and have a farm over here so I don't have to pay $9 for my eggs, according to Sleuthy. You would think that they'd been questioned, but I wonder if people are, like, running out, if people got out of there before the cops arrived. You would think the cops would be there, though, just in a couple minutes, but I think that the body cams, or not the body cams, but if there's any surveillance around there that could show, possibly who was there, and if somebody tried to, like, skate out. But then again, what are the capabilities on these cameras that are actually right around the house? Because we don't know. We don't know who's there. How do you not know that? How do you not know who was in that home? How do you not know who was there when your officers arrived? That just was a mess, but. All right, guys, take care. Go Eagles. Go Kansas City. I mean, I'm torn. So I'm just going to get half and half jerseys. So thank God I have a million cameras. There you go. All right, go enjoy your friends and families. Be safe. And tomorrow night, book it. Date me up tomorrow night. See you guys then. Oh, wait, I just missed somebody that I wanted to say thank you to. I'm just jabbing away over here. Oh, man, I think I went back too far. Oh, there it is. Kevin. Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you. Love you, fam. Take care. Be kind. Go Browns.